Good morning. Welcome to Candy Conundrum. Today we're going to focus on operations with fractions.
Today during math, you will apply and extend previous understandings of multiplication and division to multiply and divide fractions.
Before we begin talking about candy today, let's have a quick refresher of fractions. A fraction is a part of a whole. It is less than one whole, but bigger than zero. We use fractions in our everyday life. How many of you have baked chocolate chip cookies before? Tell a partner sitting next to you what your favorite kind of cookie is. Did anyone say chocolate chip? That's our favorite kind of cookie.
Now it's your turn to solve a problem. If your cookie recipe calls for 2/3 a cup of chocolate chips, how many total cups of chocolate chips would you need if you doubled the recipe? Pause the video and try to solve the problem individually. After you find your answer, turn and share your thinking with the person sitting next to you. Press play when you are done sharing. To begin solving this problem, we wrote the multiplication problem at the top of our paper. 2/3 times 2, which can also be written as 2/3 plus 2/3. I am going to solve this problem by drawing a picture. First, I am going to draw two rectangles and divide each of them into 3 equal parts. I know that I'm working with the fraction 2/3, and so I'm going to shade 2/3 of each rectangle. Once I have finished shading each rectangle, I'm going to combine the shaded pieces. I have now shaded a total of 4 pieces, each the size of 1/3. I know that I can move one of the shaded pieces from the second rectangle to the first rectangle to create one whole. I will draw an arrow showing the piece moving. I will then redraw the rectangle showing my one whole shaded. I now have one shaded piece left over in the second rectangle. I will draw an arrow moving it to my final drawing. My final drawing shows me that 2/3 plus 2/3 equals 1 whole and 1/3, or 1 1/3 cups of chocolate chips. Did you and your partner find the correct answer?
Today you're going to have the opportunity to solve a problem involving chocolate bars. You're going to work on this problem individually and solve using representations and models. Remember when you are reading the problem to think about what it's asking you to solve. When you finish, compare your answers with a partner and discuss your thought process.
The problem you are going to be working on deals with chocolate bars. Miss Pate's 20 students all got A's on their math test, so she bought chocolate bars to give them as a reward the next day. During the night, however, Miss Pate's cat chewed up 5 of the bars. She didn't have time to go to the store to buy more bars. Miss Pate put her students into groups of 4. She gave each group 3 chocolate bars and told them they had to find a way to share the 3 bars equally among 4 students. Draw a model to show how the students could have shared the bars. How much chocolate will each student get? Pause the video to solve the problem. When you have found your answer, click play to move on to the next slide. I began solving the candy conundrum problem by first writing the important information at the top of my paper: 4 students and 3 candy bars. I will be drawing a picture to help me solve this problem. I know that there is 4 students, and so I'm going to write 1, 2, 3, and 4 at the top of my paper. I also know that there's 3 candy bars, and so I'm going to draw each candy bar and label them. I know that there are 4 students who need need to get equal pieces of chocolate. To help me divide the chocolate, I am going to divide each individual chocolate bar into 4 pieces. After I have divided all of the chocolate bars, I am going to label each one 1 through 4 until I run out of candy bars. After labeling each student's pieces, I am going to count up the total amount of pieces each student will receive. Each student will receive 3 pieces, each the size of 1/4 or 3/4 of 1 whole candy bar. Did you get the same answer?
We have another problem for you to solve that may be a little trickier. Now Miss Pates gave each group 9 chocolate bars and told them they had to find a way to share the 9 bars equally among 4 students. Draw a model to show how the student could have shared the bars. How much chocolate will each student get? Pause the video to solve the problem. When you have found your answer, click play to move on to the next slide.
When you have found an answer, turn to a partner and discuss your answer and your model or representation. When discussing with your partner, explain why you chose to solve each problem that way. Press pause to have your discussion, and when you are finished, press play again. We solved this problem in a similar way to the first candy conundrum problem. First, I wrote the important information at the top of my paper: 4 students and 9 candy bars. I then drew numbers to represent each student and 9 rectangles to represent each candy bar. In this problem, Miss Pate gives each group 9 candy bars. I know that each student can have 2 full candy bars because 4 times 2 equals 8. I will label 2 candy bars for each student. I now have 1 candy bar remaining. I will solve the problem just like the first candy conundrum problem. I will divide the last problem into 4 pieces and give 1 to each student. As I look at my picture, I can see that each student will receive 2 full chocolate bars and 1/4 of a chocolate bar, or 2 1/4 chocolate bars. After discussing with your partner, I'd like you to think about a few questions. Did you and your partner solve the problem the same or differently? The second question I have for you is, which way was more efficient, you or your partners? Do you recognize any similarities between the 2 problems and the answers you have found? Take a few minutes to discuss with the partner sitting next to you. You can pause the video during this time and press play when you are finished.